Good evening, everyone. Before we get started tonight, we're going to ask the council member, Redford, lead us in prayer, and ask everyone please stand for the pledge.
Thank you, Father, for letting us all come together tonight. I thank you so much for every person that's here. Lord, I ask that you give us all wisdom to go forward with the things that you are showing us. I love it in the scripture where you say that all things hidden will be revealed, and that's what I'm standing on, Lord. With everything that is going on in our world, I ask for revelation, and I ask for everyone here to be able to have the wisdom to know how to handle it. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, once again, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started. First item on the agenda is to approve the July 16, 2024 regular session minutes, the July 29, 24 workshop, and the July 30th, 2024 workshop minutes. Council, if we've had a chance to review the minutes, the floor is open for a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilmember Redford, second by Councilmember Hagman. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous. We'll now close item 1 and we'll move on to public comments. The City Council welcomes citizens' participation and comments at all council meetings. Citizens' comments are limited to 2 minutes out of respect for everyone's time. The council is not permitted to respond to your comments. The Texas Open Meetings Act requires that topics of discussion, deliberation be posted on an agenda not less than 72 hours in advance of the council meetings. If your comments relate to a topic that is on the agenda, the council will discuss the topic on the agenda at the time the topic is discussed and deliberated. At this time, if we have anyone that'd like to come in and address the council, please do so, state your name and address.
You guys know you're in trouble when Debbie and I get up here. My name's David Ruff. I live out in Cookville on 3070. I'm no stranger to you guys. I'm shaking right now because some of the language I'm going to be using in front of you guys is absolutely abhorrent. I got to read 3 books last night, speed read them. And these books are found in our public library. I was approached by some concerned parents that there is a room inside the library that is a teens only, and I know that we have some people from the library so they can probably better explain it, that parents have been asked to not be in there, even with their own natural children. This concern came in that there were some books, and I brought 3 of them. There is anybody in the audience that is easily offended by language, sexual content, pedophilia, things like that, you might want to leave. If there's anybody watching live right now with small children, you need to make a decision whether you're going to let your children listen to this or not. There are things in this book that I, as an adult, or anybody on that council, or anybody standing behind me, if you were to text this to an underage person inside the state of Texas, that officer, I'm not sure where he is, that officer would arrest you, and you would probably be found on felony charges. The first book is called Sadie. I went ahead and looked it up before I read it. Trigger warning. This book features child murder, child abuse, pedophilia, child neglect, attempted sexual assault, alcoholism, and drug addiction. Actually, more fairly speaks to a young girl's trials and tribulations as a youngster and going into adulthood, things like that. Oh, I can't believe I'm fixing to do this. I don't like nitpicking out of books, so don't take just what was pointed out to me in just a single section as the whole book. I really recommend that all you guys read this book. It's called Sadie. It's by Courtney Summers. Page 36. I grab the picture back, and he grabs me by the arm, and surprise grip of his spider leg fingers make me want to separate from my skin just so I don't have to feel it. The heat of him, a door slams somewhere beyond us. I turn my head to it. There's a truck, a big black dog of thing idling in the dark. The girl runs to it. She's small in the way that reminds me of Maddie. Maddie is a character inside this book. Again, you might want to read this book. I stare at her tiny body made of tiny bones, watching as she comes to halt at the passenger side. She stares at it for a long time, painful moment, and then there's nothing. I can do nothing to stop what happens next. I watch as the girl, who isn't Maddie, pulls the door open. The cab of the truck lights light up briefly as she climbs inside. Then she closes the door. The truck interior lights dim, swallowing whole. Caddy digs his fingers into me, his nails sharp. Let me go. He lets me go, coughing into his elbow. It'll cost you, he says. He tilts his head to the side as his eyes drift over me, and then a little more attentively than he did the last time. He puts his hand on my arm and walks me further into the dark. He brings himself closer to me, fumbling for his belt buckle, whispering the kinds of nothings that in my ear I can't pretend to be sweet. His breath sour. I look into his eyes, and his eyes are red. I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. That's
Oh no, there's two more. There's
I
two
get
more.
it. I get it, but I'm gonna get. Okay, hold on. Let me handle this. I'm gonna extend the time, but I need to find out if there's anyone else in the audience that's gonna be speaking on this same topic. Okay. Okay, and that's why I said, we got to be courteous of everyone's time. Also.
Absolutely. I'll make it very, very quick. If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo is a coming-of-age story about transgender teen that Common Sense Media rates as 14 plus. By the way, just so you're aware, I believe that this Sadie one is 13-year-old plus material rated. If I Was Your Girl, this book here, coming of age transgender teen that Common Sense Media rates as 14 plus. However, some parents say it's more appropriate for ages 15 up. The book contains topics such as bullying, violence, attempted suicide, homophobic violence, drug use, drugness, and neovaginal dilation procedure. Some say that the book is not appropriate for children under 16, while others say it's a powerful story with a message of tolerance and acceptance. And you know what? I read this book. And it has a lot of powerful meaning to acceptance and things like that. Because I don't care what you do behind closed doors. I don't care who you love. I will support you either way. But when it starts coming to our kids, that's where I draw a line. Let me go ahead and read you an excerpt out of this. And in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and cut the paragraph or the paragraphs down. To give this context, a person went ahead at a party or a school type event and went up there and started identifying everybody as to what they are. B started to look around the gym. This is page 222. Who glanced up and scowled when I heard her name. Dyke, B cried. The chaperone has been slowly on the crunch of people near the stage, but he was close now, just for a few yards from the stairs. Bea pointed at herself and yelled, "Queer slut!" And then she pointed at me. "But I saved the best for last, you all." She said, "Look at our homecoming queen. Ain't she sweet? Ain't she beautiful? She's living the dream, right? I bet a lot of you guys thought about her in the shower. Pretty smart, but not pushy or intimidating. She's everything this fucked up..." I'm so sorry. Everything that this fucked up place wants a girl to be. The chaperone was mounting the steps, couldn't stop shaking. Grant held me close in that moment, and I loved him so much. But guys, guess what? She's a he. The crowd went silent. We'll stop there. Calling somebody out, a male that is identifying as a female, calling that person out inside a school, using that type of language, and we're presenting this to our kids. That's not acceptance. Last one. This book was actually, I gotta say, for all my conservative constitutional views, I actually kind of enjoyed this book. However, I don't think it's appropriate for our kids being in a room that parents are asked to leave and being presented where kids just go ahead and get this. Recommended for readers age 14 and up, solely because few stories talk quite a bit about sex. More than half of them are suitable for any age. While girls will love this collection, I think boys will find it quite engrossed as well, with a bonus that the cover isn't remotely pink or romantic looking. Of course, pink was actually original boys' color. This one, I mean, you know, again, I was up until about 5 in the morning reading this one. There were some neat stories in it. I'm just going to go ahead and, this one is less than 5 lines. When I realized I was into girls, it was scary to let go of all the things that I was supposed to be and all the things that I was supposed to want. It's like you're a character in a book and everybody around you is writing, and then suddenly you have to say, I'm sorry, but the role isn't right for me. And it goes on, and actually there's really nothing all that bad in this. But here's my point. These kids, these 12-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, especially from about 15 to 17-year-old, have hormones going on in their bodies. We all went through it. We don't know which way is up. Why in God's name are we allowing this type of material into 12, 13, 14, and I believe 8-year-olds are allowed in that room. That's what we've been told. Of course, they're going to tell you different, I'm sure. Why are we allowing this type of material in there, influencing these kids, taking away the nuclear family? Where the hell are the parents? Where the hell are the counselors in all this? There's a couple parents in back of me. I'm sure they're going to go ahead and speak to you. Guys, all we're asking for is a policy change. And as I understand it, you guys can't really do that. There are areas that can do that. But I implore you, pick up these books, read them, and then ask yourselves, you as a parent, would you let your kids read these? Would you let your kids be influenced by this when they're already confused? I wouldn't. And I have 2 girls and a son, and I was asked that beforehand, and I don't understand why I was asked that, ma'am. Doesn't matter if I have kids or not. Anyway, I thank you. I do apologize for using this type of language in this type of setting, but I felt this important. Thank you.
Thank you. The next persons that would like to come up, please state your name and address the council. Excuse me, Mr. Dustin. You would have to hold that button down in order for the audience to hear you.
All right, Dustin Mester. I don't need to, do I state where I live like he did, or is that all I got to state?
I'm sorry?
Do I need to state where I live, like my address, like he did?
That's fine. Are you a resident of Mount Pleasant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So honestly, I have mixed feelings about this. I get free speech, and we are in a tough time. Kids are going through things I never had to. Kids are being pushed in so many directions, and they're so vulnerable. And I mean, I wish we could take every book out, but I want to say something to you, ma'am. I want you to know I love you, and I care what you've been through, and I can feel that you might feel like there's hate coming for you, but I don't feel any hate. I just care. I care what the kids are going through. I care what you've been through. I care about what every person here's been through. I really do. And I love you all, and I think it can be so easily that hate out of fear can seem to come from all this. And you can hate what we don't know, or it can almost hate because we want to protect our kids, but hate will not fix this. Only love will. And I mean, I wish I don't know. I went into the kids' room, and nobody told me to get out. I can be honest and tell you that. I wouldn't want my kids going in that children's room, though. I'll tell you that, and I won't let them in there. I hope someone else has something to say, because that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am, you would have to. Yes, ma'am, and you'd have to hold that button down through the entirety.
Okay, I'm Kitty O'Rand. I have 3 children, 33-year-old, 22-year-old, and a 16-year-old. I am the president of CHIMPA, the homeschool group here. We have 200 families in our group, which is about 1,000 people. This subject has been brought up in our group quite a bit. I absolutely love those ladies back there. They have been so kind to us. I'm not here out of anger, out of concern. They've been really good to our group. They've given us scholarships. They've come to our kickoff party. They're very helpful. But within our group, there has been concern about the books. And I feel that as the president, I should express some concern and say, how do we go about being able to have a voice of what is in the library? And how do you change a policy? How do you get families together? And is it something we can change, like we vote on as a family? I talked to my 16-year-old daughter about this at the teen room and such today, and she was like, was concerned herself. That's my 16-year-old daughter. I have a 22-year-old daughter that showed some concerns on the phone and said, I'm concerned too. So I'm just here out of concern to see how can these policies be changed if they're not good. How do we get the books out of there the right way? And I really think that's really all I have to say. Maybe I don't have the questions answered, but I do want to say again that we do love the library. They have been good to our group. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else?
My name is Helen Thompson. I'm the old librarian. Tracy, I don't even recognize some of you, but it's nice to meet you. And this problem came up about a year and a half or so ago. And the parents emailed me, all same email, they just copied it and emailed it to me, which was fine. And I answered each one of them and sent them a copy of our policy. And then I never heard another word. The teen policy is that the parents can come in and out. They just can't go in there and set up the computer and stay. And one parent was concerned because I need to see what they're doing. The wall is glass, and there are seats outside the wall. So the reason that room even came to be was a request when the people were in the old library that the teenagers wanted to have a little privacy and not be put into the little kids. So you have to be 13 at least to go in there. And if you're a parent, you can go in there. We have lots of parents, or I'm still saying we. I've been gone a while, but they have lots of parents who go in there and check out books because many parents enjoy YL books. I'm assuming that if y'all don't have a copy of our selection policy, that you'll get one. And please read it. It's a selection policy that most libraries have something similar to it. And the policy encourages parents to know what their kids are reading. You as a parent have a right to say, you can't read that book. And if you saw Mr. Ruff, he read you the reviews on it. So as a parent, you'd know if you didn't want that kid to read it, right? That's your job as a parent. All of the responses I got when I was not going to say responses, but when the parents were concerned and emailed me, not all of them were opposed. They asked me not to let people know who they were, but some of them applauded the library for saying, we realize that you have to have something for everybody, that the library represents the city. It doesn't represent just the homeschool group or just the Buddhist or the Muslims or whatever. It's a broad spectrum. It also does not represent what we believe. These books are all award-winning books, and frankly, my teenagers probably could have read any of those books, and we would have talked about them. I think it'd be great lessons. But I had a right, and still, I don't have a right anymore because they're 40 years old. But I used to have a right to say, I don't want you to read that book. I never did that, but I could have, because that's my job as a parent. But you know what? I have no right to say, Tracy, your kid can't read that book. But I have a right to say that they can't, that mine can't. I encourage parents to know, what their kids are reading, and to say, no, don't read that. Or if you read that, let's read it together. And then you can understand what your belief is about things. The teen room, again, is the parents can come and go, like I said, and that hasn't changed. But please, if you haven't read the policy, Lupe would be glad to give you a copy of it. And many of the parents already have a copy because I emailed them copies. And that was a little over a year ago, I think. This was kind of a blind side. I know that no one spoke to the director about this. Now, they spoke to me, but that was a year and a half or so ago. And no one has ever been rude to me about it. They were all kind and just genuinely concerned. And my response, I hope, was kind and understanding their concern. I think the problem I have now is that nobody went to the director of the library. And that's, I'm a big believer in going through channels. Anybody can come up here and gripe and has a right to. I understand that. But go through the channels and you might get some of your questions answered beforehand. Did I give my name? I gave my name. Did you need my address?
No, I got
Okay.
you, Ms. Heflin.
Thank you, y'all. And good luck. You've got a tough job overall.
Uh-huh. We have anyone else? Okay, I'd like to inform everyone that the library does have their policy, and also they have a board. When we have complaints, we need to make sure that we do follow the proper channels. I understand your concerns. There's a lot of great concerns, and I seriously understand them. But I think we should go through the policy. They have an advisory board there, and they will make the decisions on I guess what books. Ms. Helen, I think is Libby. You have a copy of the policy, and they do have the policy online, complaint forms and whatnot on your website. Okay. All right. So I hope we can get that done on this level to get things corrected. We do hear a lot from the parents, I'm sure, from the library, but I like also to believe that the advisory would take your complaints and either justifiable, come to a decision that is that will make everyone happy. So I don't know what books. I haven't read those books, of course. And my kids, of course, well, they're all of my youngest is 20. So again, just like Ms. Helen, I can tell them my opinion, but whether they follow it, it'll be pretty much on them as grown kids, as adults. But I will say this and leave it at that. Please, if you haven't, contact the library, the advisory board, and Ms. Lupe. I hope you guys can resolve these issues. Okay. With that being said, do we have anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
With all of you, most of y'all having a real estate background, you're going to know where I'm coming from on this. I'd like to point out some of the concerns many of us have about issues involving the code enforcement department throughout our city. As you know, I'm a huge advocate of keeping our city clean and well maintained, an inviting place where families will want to come and live and appreciate the lifestyle that we have to offer. There's been so much discussion about growth and the potential for future growth that know this: if we don't maintain our neighborhoods as well as our business districts, no one is going to want to come here. It is absolutely essential that we keep our city clean and inviting and well mowed. No one wants to come to a trashy city to live or to shop. This has become a real issue lately under the past administration, as code enforcement staff was cut in half. Money went to places it didn't need to go. It went to those who did not deserve it, and sometimes under questionable actions of leadership and staff that led to running off one of our most knowledgeable code officers. I know that Mr. Jimmy Vong has been extremely involved in efforts to get some things taken care of that he and his friends and neighbors are experiencing. He has driven the streets and met with others that are like-minded and concerned about their community. Both of us have made contacts with the code office, city hall, and council persons. When I was recently asked by a council member what all the code office does, I told them to ask for the monthly reports. When the monthly report showed up in one of the council package, I noticed that there were none of the code enforcement department information in there. This is generated by a few clicks of the buttons. I checked into it and found that the report wasn't even being generated and reported in evidently several months. I found out that even the interim city manager had no idea, none to you, but no idea of what the code enforcement department really does. I had to ask to get involved and find out why this department does. I asked for you to find out exactly what this department is doing and how important it is. All of our business districts and neighborhoods must be maintained, not just by complaint being called in, by working and patrolling the neighborhoods. Working by complaint is not only a bad idea, it's not good for our neighborhoods. It's never the way to maintain. It leads to a variety of other possible problems. I know that Mr. Ankrum is trying to get things handled. He has always been open to listening and suggestions. And I would ask Mr. Nyhoff if you could set up a meeting with some of us that are concerned with maybe a council member or two and the staff. Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Jimmy Vaughn, Mount Pleasant, Texas. I had other plans for this meeting, but it didn't happen. I'm gonna read a code enforcement code 50.04, duty of owners, occupants, and real properties. Each person owning, leasing, managing, operating, using, and occupying any building, apartment, house, structure, ground, or premises within the city shall keep each building, apartment, house, structure clean and free of garbage, refuse, trash, rubbish, manure from lots, stables, and poultry yards, all waste, oil and grease and garbage and field stations, and all unsanitary and or unsightly. With that being said, there don't seem to be anybody trying to make them. They have, in my knowledge, have been told to have letters sent to them. How many letters do we need to send before we start taking action? According to the ordinance of 31.10, ordinance violation, this city has the authority to impose penalties and ordinance violations. And 10.99, general penalties. I won't go through reading all that, but it's talking about fines. And it can go from not to exceed $2,000, and it can be down to $500 per incident per day. That's unnecessary, I think, because times are hard for people. But it should be kept sightly, clean, fences up, and there shouldn't be a wrecking yard in single-family dwelling neighborhood. With that said, I'm gonna let someone else have it. I probably talked enough.
Thank you, Mr. Fine. All right, do we have anyone else? All right, I want to thank you all for your comments. We'll go ahead and close the public comments at this time and move on to item 3. Item 3 is to consider appointments to the Housing Authority of the City of Mount Pleasant. Madam Secretary.
So in your packet, you've seen a letter from Steve Martin, the director at the Housing Authority. They had a resident that passed away, and they have asked another resident to serve, and he has agreed. And Michael Charles Adair is the resident who has agreed to serve to replace Lawrence Crawford.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, if we don't have any questions or discussions, we'll open the floor for a motion to accept this nomination.
Yes, I make a motion to approve Charles Michael Adair to the Housing Authority for the City of Mount Pleasant.
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilmember Hagman, second by Councilmember Hinton. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous. We'll now close that item on the agenda. We'll now move on to item 4. Item 4 is to consider approval of the new Main Street logo. Claire Bell.
Hello, my name is Clarabelle Banda, and I am the Main Street and Events Coordinator, and I am here to request an updated logo. which is presented. Currently, we have our city logo and our Main Street logo, which look almost identical. What we would like to do is change that to item 1 and 2.
All righty. Do you have anyone that would like to discuss on this item?
I just have a question. It's a lovely logo, and I certainly think it's wonderful, but why was there a desire to change it?
The desire came from being a little bit more up to date with competitiveness in our Main Street, making sure that we are presented in a great light to other communities, and not being able to differentiate between the 2 other logos. It was just nicer to have something that's a little bit more updated, that's different.
Okay. You have any other comments?
I like them. I think they look really nice. And I'm excited about the things that y'all are doing. And you're putting a new face on something that works well.
All righty. With that being said, I'll open the floor for a motion on this item.
I make a motion to accept the new logo for the Main Street.
I second the motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Redfern, second by Councilmember Hinton. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous. We'll now close that item on the agenda. At this time, we'll be going to item 5. Item 5 is a presentation of current and ongoing planning and development projects. David, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. And what we're looking at doing is to provide you with an update with the current development projects that we have throughout the city. I'd like to start out by saying that Mr. Nyhoff met with myself and John Ankrum, and we took a drive around town. He wanted to see what we had going on within the city. And after showing some of the areas of the city, Mr. Nyhoff suggested that we put a PowerPoint together and kind of bring you up to speed on what it is that we have as outgoing projects. And so what I want to do is kind of give you a drive around, so to speak, on the ongoing projects that we have here. And if I go to the next slide, there we go. So community development projects, what are we looking at here? We're looking at something that's positive, and so that's the one thing we want to bring out when we take a look at what is the positive thing. Quality development actually starts with sustainable development, which essentially creates a sense of place. And a sense of place is where you have live, work, shop, and play. So we want folks to be able to come to our community and be able to enjoy some of the benefits of this. So in development, though, we're taking a look at anytime we have something that is put on the ground, let's say a commercial project, an expansion of a commercial project, we create jobs. So that's job creation. The more jobs we have here, the more income that's here, the more dollars that we want spent locally here as well, so which helps with the tax base. And so with that and with other development as far as residential as well, then we have increased tax base, which increases city services. And so that's things that we're looking for to have a great city in order to have extra city services. And so from the map that we have here, what I want to show you is there are stars located throughout the map. And so these are the current ongoing projects that we have throughout the city. We have approximately 23 that I have identified over here, and these are all residential, commercial, and industrial projects. And so let's just take a drive down the way from south from the north rather to the south. The first property here is the Deer Park Addition. I know you probably heard this on a couple of occasions. This was annexed back in 2022, and Deer Park, or the CAPS portion of this, this is going to be eventually a large development here. Right now, we do have a preliminary plat that shows about 41 homes within this particular site. Phase 1 has 11, and you got 30 other that are within this. But also, that's only about this portion here. There's another portion of homes that are going to come in the future as well. You just took a look at I'm sorry, let me go to the next one. So this is the CAPS property, or the property off of Deer Park. So this kind of gives you a visual of what's happening there. If we go to the next one, the Junction, this is a property that you saw last month with the rezoning, where we're coming into and creating 72 single-family lots here along 271. And if we take a look at this, once again, what the applicant here was doing was providing single-family homes, single-story and two-story homes, so we have that coming in as well. As we continue down, Stonebriar is a development that's been in place. We're looking at phase 2 here, which has 25 single-family homes throughout this development. This actually just opened up. I think we have a couple of permits now that's been pulled here, so you'll see some additional home sites here. This is an existing home from phase 1, so this is the type of home that you're probably going to see here within the Stonebriar addition. Coming down further, down to the Anderson portion, we have a 180 apartment units coming in here for phase 1, which is essentially right in this area. You can see on this map how that's going to lay out. Several buildings here. Phase 2 will come in here in the future as well. Phase 1, once again, is just 180 units. This is a concept or a perspective of what that looks like. And so what I want to show you is when it's built out, this is kind of what you're looking at for that area of the development. Right next door to that is the Christus Hospital. I'm sure everybody's heard about the Christus Hospital coming in. That is about a 14 acre site that's going to be developed. 35,000 square foot medical facility. So that we will see coming in as well happening. You can see the perspective here. I'll give you a better view of that. Modern look to that building. And so this is something you can expect to see fairly shortly. If we go to the next property, this is the Urbans on, I'm sorry, this is the, looking at the wrong thing here. This is the medical center that's located, Titus Regional Medical Center, that has a 83,000 square foot ambulatory, I'm not going to say that 3 times, ambulatory special medical facility that's coming in, and so they've submitted that to us. What happened there? Go backwards. That's going to be a nice addition to the hospital, and so that could be coming in at any time as well too. The next project is the Urbans on 17th. This is 8 townhomes that we have that's going to be it's close by the hospital. And what the applicant here was expecting was to have, some of the doctors that come in, this was kind of an idea, hopefully, that, they'll take part of that in owning some of these townhomes and or whoever else available that would like that. But this is the area. It's going to be located, if you know where the Sonic is, and I think that's Church's, Popeye's Chicken, rather. It's right behind here on 17th Street, and so they should be pulling their permit anytime soon, so you'll start seeing some development, some activity on that side as well. Next is the Skyrise Villas. The familiarity with this, obviously, is that 72 units right now. They're working through phase 1 of this, which is going to include an amenity center as well as a small retail facility on that site. Overall, we're looking at 132 units when phase 2 comes in with this. So this is currently under development as well. Give you an idea of what those apartments will look like. There'll be 3-story apartment buildings with 1-bedroom, 2- and 3-bedroom available also. The next property is Bandera Estates. This is phase 2, what we're showing. The reason why we have this up here, this hadn't been completed. We have a handful, I think maybe 4 or 5 lots that are still available in the Bandera Estates. However, it is still an ongoing project, hadn't been completed. And so this is what that looks like as far as the homes here. and so you'll see a continuation of that on that particular site. The next one is in the downtown area. This is the 3rd Street Lofts. It's a retail building. It's an office building rather, with 3 apartment units on the 2nd floor. And these are 1-bedroom units, and so that's something that's good for the downtown to get some apartments, and that way you get some foot traffic around in the downtown area. And this is what the building's going to look like once it is complete. And this did go through our Main Street Board for approval of the facility on the look of the building. That'd be a natural stone on that facility. The next property here is dry cleaners. This is located on Alabama Street. It's about 2,200 square feet, and so there'll be a new dry cleaners located there. That is still under construction. I think we're expecting that to be complete probably towards the end of the year. So you'll see that facility should be opening up sometime soon. Symmetry Sports is, if you're familiar with Symmetry, Symmetry does the turf, and they're a big organization. This is going to be their headquarters. It's located on 49, so this is going to be a nice facility here because this is the city limits, and as you're coming westbound on 49, this is a prominent building that's going to be seen. It's a gateway, and so when you see this facility, it's a 2-story facility. It's 11,000 square feet, so this will be highly visible for folks that are coming into town. The next one that we have is SG Apartments. This is located on White Street and South Jefferson. These are the existing facilities here. You got the AT&T building here, so this would be right behind the AT&T building. It'd be 3-level apartments you see there with brick, stone, and stucco. So this would be a nice addition as well to that portion of town. Also, what we have coming is Tidal Wave Auto Spa, the automated tunnel car wash with self-serve vacuum area as well. This we anticipate to be start construction at the first of the year, and so we'll see them coming in also, and kind of what this looks like as far as the tunnel for that facility. On the next one, this is Walmart. Interesting here is they have a 5,000 square foot addition. Now this is because of, kind of the new thing, folks order groceries and they want them delivered, and so this is a pickup area for their groceries. And so what they did is they are currently working on this. Will probably be complete towards the end of the year, but this also was an interior renovation. If you've been in Walmart, they made a lot of changes there, so this permit was associated with that as well. And so this is kind of where it is right now, but and they still have a little more to go, so you'll see that development as well come in and finish up. This is a project that we've been working on for some time. However, this is on Tennyson Crossing. These are 45 townhomes that are going to be associated, that are going to be built on this site, and this will be a brick, stucco, and some lap siding on these. We should probably see something kick off on this fairly soon as well. So there's additional housing that's available also there. Preferts has a couple of spots that they are expanding. The first one, Prefert North, they already have 2 buildings that are located here, but what I want to show here is they have a total of 4 buildings that are going to be constructed here. The 4 buildings total about 62,000 square feet. However, they are going to use up pretty much this entire area for expansion, future expansion. You're looking at 1.6 million square feet. That's huge for the city to have for employment and so forth. And it's going to be the same thing on the south end. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the current facilities that have been built. I think they're waiting on the rail line to come in here for their slitter portion of this. And so once that happens, you'll see this to continue. On Prefert on the south end, this was the first building that went up, which you can see it off the highway here. But when you take a look at this is a 35 square foot building. What their plan is when they come in here, you're looking at a 1.1 million square foot overall future expansion of that site as well. And then finally, we're gonna go to, well, this is that image there, you see that off of 4,000. And then the next one is Local Bounty. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with Local Bounty. It's a lettuce manufacturing operation. We just actually finalized the building today. And so they are in full operation now. They have been working with, this is phase 1 here with the office and so forth. Phase 2, we've been working with them on phase 2 as well. So they should be pulling their permit hopefully before the end of the year, maybe over the next couple of months. And so you'll see phase 2 come in. This is a large facility, 784,000 square feet when it's totally built out. And so this is, if you haven't driven down there, this is what the facility looks like. Most of it you're just going to see it's a warehouse essentially. You know, it's a manufacturing facility. So this is the south portion. This faces Diamond C, and it's a fairly large building. That concludes my drive-through. So with that, we're here. Staff is here. Our new planning director is here as well. And John Ankerman is here. We're available to answer any questions you may have concerning any of these projects or anything else you may have.
All right, thank you, Dave. Council, do we have any questions at this time?
Well, I would like to applaud you and all the staff and everybody working on this because the narrative that's been going around Mount Pleasant for the last year is that we don't have any housing. And I haven't had a chance to add this up. But if you're saying I was trying to take notes. You were going quick. But when I look at the apartments, I look at the townhomes, I look at the 2 or 3 new additions that are coming up, I think we're set to grow.
And I'm glad you asked that. We have, adding all those up, there are about 500 units between apartments, townhomes, and single-family homes. 500 units currently being planned. Not also, not to include what is coming in the future that obviously will be presented to you at some point in time. But we have a lot going on.
All righty, thanks a lot, appreciate it. Would you like to introduce your director?
This is Lynn Barrett. She started last week with us, and so come on up. And so I'm going to let her talk because I can probably talk all day long, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk. So here we go.
Good evening, Council. I'm pleased to be here. I came from Sweetwater, but I really am enjoying Mount Pleasant. I've been here for a couple of weeks now. Had about a little over a week with David, and I get a little more time before he rides off into the sunset on his retirement. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm a development services professional, and I really love the vibrancy of the community, the spirit of the citizenry, and of course your service and dedication as well as chief stakeholders. I've met some of the developers and have really enjoyed it so far.
All right, it is a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I just follow up with that?
Yes, sir.
So do you, so I had the privilege of interviewing her, and do you like downtown too, or not really?
I'm very passionate about downtown. I haven't had a chance to hit up Clareville and start talking all the wonderful Main Street and downtown development kind of ideas, but it is a charming and wonderful a feeling that you get when you come to Mount Pleasant, and I fell in love with the city. When I came for my interview, just fell in love, so I am kind of crazy about downtown.
And so interviewing her, I think one thing that both of us really agreed with is the heart of any city is its downtown, and if you it's where our pulse really is. We see so much development outside of that, but one of the things that I know is the council feels very strongly about, and one of the strong points that I talked to her about is the whole Main Street program and the whole rejuvenating downtown, or certainly supporting it wholeheartedly as a city as far as where we come to gather as a community. So I look forward to her. She definitely has the experience we need in all the zoning, and you look at all these land use issues and how we look at all these, how they all tie together, because it's a critical part of how you, which is your community in Mount Pleasant, how you actually grow. So welcome aboard, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All righty. Council, do we have any further comments or questions at this time? All right, Dave, I appreciate you do. Go ahead.
I too was taken, and I appreciate the presentation. I think it made it comprehensive and made it make sense. And I appreciate even how you'd walk through town and drove through town. I particularly was drawn to the efforts with the downtown buildings being renovated and updated. Our Main Street people here over the years have done tremendous. 3 or 4 years ago, I took a little interest in Main Street, and I did a little research. And at that time, if I recall, there was 84 designated Main Street cities in Texas. The bulk of them being in East Texas, because that's the older part of the state. And so I purposed to visit many of them. And I will say that Mount Pleasant, just for people that are interested, Main Street's a big deal, and ours has been very well done over the years. And I'm very proud of it. I think the citizens here should be proud of it. We have an outstanding Main Street effort, and I just wanted people to know that it does matter, and it's something that we need to continue to encourage and do all we can to keep this progress going forward. We have a wonderful, out of the 84, especially some of these, we've done an outstanding job, and I just want to see that effort continue.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Again, I just want to say it is very important for growth that we be able to accommodate housing. I see the growth in all of the industry, and we have to have housing, and that's what we're showing right now. So I really appreciate the presentation, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All righty. At this time, we'll go ahead and close item 5, and we'll move on now to item 6. Item 6 is to consider pay request number 3 from Schneider Electric for the City of Mount Pleasant water meter project. Mr. Race?
Mayor and Council, this is pay number 3 for Schneider Electric for the Mount Pleasant water meter project that we got going on. The pay request number 3 is for $215,103.70. We're about the substantial completion time is 450 days. We're sitting at about 179, remaining 271, so we're about 40% done. Financial impact, the original contract was $2,856,630. Now this is Snyder's part. I want y'all to remember that. We bought the meters and everything. So billing to date is $700,551.62. The remaining contract is $2,156,078.40. We ask that you approve this pay request. Also, I'd like to note that as of this pay request, we have put in, or the contractors, 1,289 meters, so it's going very well. Any questions?
Where are y'all now with the meters?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. There's a map, so that they kind of bounce around. What we do, we have to kind of flow with we have 2 pay scales or 2 billing cycles, so I'm not exactly sure which cycle they're on right now. Keith, Mr. Kaiser here, if you would like to ask him some questions, he'd probably tell you where they're at.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Kaiser.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me today. Keith Kaiser with Snyder Electric. Right now, we're working on the west side. I believe that's Route 1. Well, we're on west side right now. So like he was saying, we work, or we try to avoid whatever billing cycle they're on. So we kind of flip-flop every 2 weeks, depending on what cycle.
I think the last time I thought we were in town on the south side around Delwood Park or Southgate, but we haven't really done that whole area.
Correct, yeah. I mean, we get started in an area, and then, the 2-week limit comes up, and then we've got to jump to another side of town. And then we try to fall back as best as we can where we were. And we've got a pretty accurate list of where all our meter connections are, so.
And on the last page, there is a map that's colored in pink showing the areas that they've hit, and there's about 5 or 6 areas that they've hit. But like I said, they do have to go with the billing cycle, so that's why they bounce around.
Part of this project was prompted as not just to update to smart meters, but also the mandate that had come down about the lead pipe issues and all this. So could you speak to that? Are you finding many lead pipe issues in these residences?
So far, I mean, as of today, we're actually up to about 1,700. I think we've maybe found one, but we're going to go back and just double check before we notify the city. But even anything we find, it gets generated in a report that obviously gets turned into PTQ.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. We actually do lead and copper samples every 3 years, and so our year's coming up in 2025, and so far we've been non-detectable in the city of Mount Pleasant.
That's good news.
All righty. Thank you. Do we have any further questions? All right, floor is open for a motion. Thank you, Mr. Brazier and Mr. Kaiser. We appreciate you.
I'll make a motion to pay Schneider Electric $215,103.70.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilmember Hinton, second by Councilmember Redfern. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
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 The vote is unanimous. Before I close this item, Mr. Ruff, did you have anything on? All right, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda. We'll move on now to item 7. Item 7 is considering appointing 2 council members to work with legal to establish a PID, which is a Public Improvement District policy, and a PID board. Do we have, yes. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Raines. Not sure.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, we could hear you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes?
We're good.
Okay. So this item is basically just to appoint 2 council members to work with legal on establishing potentially a policy that would then come back to council for consideration and review. And also potentially that policy may address, or separately there may be some discussion of a public improvement district board. And so the issue is really just appointing 2 council members to work toward that. And then that would come back to the council.
Okay. Council, do we have any questions for Ms. Raines on this item? Okay. Well, if we have anything else, we can go on the floor for nominations.
Well, I have a comment, but not from Ms. Reams.
Go ahead.
So the big driver, right, so for all that may not have been plugged into last year, there was an opportunity for a project to come up, there was PID involved or requested, and just considering the city did not have a policy at all, we thought it prudent, once the new council was engaged, that once we got through some of the higher items, that this is something we at least at a minimum need to have a policy to make a decision against moving forward if any other new projects have the PID designation with it.
Okay. Do I have anyone else? Ms. Rames, could you, for the public, just explain exactly what the PID is and how it works, just for public knowledge?
So did you just ask for me to kind of explain what a policy would involve?
Actually what the PID is, but also what the policy would involve.
Okay, well, so a public improvement district is basically sort of like, the council sort of had this experience, well, I guess, I don't know, not that long ago, involving, a development project in which, there is work toward, basically, putting together, a proposal and a way to finance public improvements. And so what would be involved here in this case would be sort of developing a policy for some consideration for development potentially coming in to the city, to be looking at, well, what is the city considering or interested in considering for such a public improvement program, right? Like, what would you be considering as, an appropriate type project, or what types of, issues would you be considering relevant, before you get too far down the path, of investing time and effort, and then, it not meeting your parameters or consideration of things of that nature, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Lee. I did want to say that last 2 years, I was sitting where you, the audience, was sitting and watching on YouTube while the city was going through this approval. And I saw 2 or 3 things. The first thing I saw was that the person wanting to do a development, which I have been on that side of starting a development, I realized the amount of money and the effort that this man had put forward, and it went on and on and on, 18 months or longer. And so I started realizing that any development, any person coming needs to have protection to see what the city is expecting up front before they start paying interest or they start going forward with things. They kind of know up front who we are. I also noticed that as things came to light during this development, that there were some issues that were brought out during open meeting that I don't want anybody to be embarrassed with things being in the open. So I'm thinking that if there is a policy, number one, and a board, number two, that some of these issues can be discovered before they ever get to this point. And then we can all work together to see what's happening. So that's kind of the reason for this. When I ran, people asked me my opinion on this development, and the one opinion that I had was we needed a PID policy in place. And so here we go.
All right, thank you, Ms. Let's see. Do we have anything else? All right, we'll open the floor for appointments.
Yeah, I move to put Councilwoman Sherry. Oh,
Hold on just 1 second. We did it. Did you have something, Mr.?
As you guys get a board in on PID, look, I love every single one of you, but you are way out of your league on PID. You really need to get a office to manage something in a PID. And I ask that you go ahead and remember things like South Lake and, or was it South Lake? Flower Mound and West Lake, where they're a much bigger community than we are, and they can't buy their way out of the mistake that they made. It will absolutely sink us and be more grand than the Titanic when we sink because of it. Yeah, I heard something about the Anderson Crossing, the EB5, and the PID. That's why I raised my hand the first time. But now hearing you guys talk about this, tread very, very carefully when you're dealing with this PID stuff. Remember Westlake. Remember Flower Mound. They're bigger than us, and they made a big mistake, and they can't buy their way out of it. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Dave, this is actually an opportunity to protect the city and to protect the people. And so, I believe when I've watched the council for the last 2 years, and spoken with Councilman Sproul, these are things that they were caught off guard with. Even though they had attorneys, they weren't prepared. And so I never, ever, ever want to see our council be put in a position again where they're not prepared and I never want to see our town be divided again. I want to make sure that we know exactly what we want, what we expect of people coming into our community. So we're going to study it, and we're all going to have our input, and we will have legal advice. We will have also advice from other towns, whether we ever receive a PID option ever again. But if we ever do have something that's presented to us, we will be ready to go to know how to deal with it.
I appreciate your words, and actually I'm glad I came back up here. I don't mean an insult with you guys are out of your league. It's exactly what you said is the last council was blindsided with it, and it took a community to do the research to actually find out what PID comes with. And a lot of people will sell it to you just like a brand new car, but when it comes down to it, your lessons are, again, Westlake and Bed, or whatever the other one is. So again, no insult. Make sure you guys have a real strong legal team, and quite honestly, my opinion, don't need the PID. We got plenty of investors and everything else here. Don't want to lock that land up, and then all of a sudden you can't use it, and then you can't pay for it, and guess what? And this man here, and also you guys, are working very, very hard on our budgets, and you guys are going to have to rip some serious scabs off to scrub this wound before we get better. The last thing we need right now is to get hit with a PID. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. So where is this in like the organization? Is this before P&Z or between P&Z and City Council? Like, does that make sense? Like, I was just wondering, do they talk to them before they talk to P&Z, or is it between P&Z and City Council?
Well, I also have been looking at other PID policies in the state of Texas, and I'm kind of wanting to study what successful PIDs are doing and how they proceed with it. But in my view, I think that a PID needs to be presented, and a board of people need to be the ones to vet and to look at it to even see if it's something that will meet our requirements. So kind of like going and getting a mortgage, or kind of like going and buying a car, that person then can receive something and say, thank you so much for your interest in our community, but at this time we're not interested in going forward with what you're doing. And the reasons why, just like if we're trying to get a house or a car, the reasons why would be da, 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 da. I do not want to waste the planning and zoning time or the council's time like what we went through for the last 2 years if there were things that could have come out 2 years ago. So that's my opinion, but then we are going to be working together, and that's just my one opinion of 4 right now, but maybe 5. So, we don't know where it's going to take us.
All right, do we have anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and open the floor for the consideration.
I want to make a motion to nominate Sherry Sproul and Ms. Kelly Redfern to the board to review our PID policy with our legal team.
I second the motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Hagman, second by Councilmember Hinton. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
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 All right. We'll go ahead and close this item on the agenda and move on to our next item, which is item 8. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Item 8, discussion of a possible resolution for monthly reports from city attorney, city manager, municipal judge, and director of VDC, appointing up to 2 council members to work with legal on the same. Ms. Rames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a similar issue in which there would be the appointment of 2 council members to work with legal on this subject. with this subject being basically for the council to receive reports from those that are listed here, the city attorney, the city manager, the municipal judge, and the director of the EDC, to sort of outline a resolution about what that would be considered desirable by the council in terms of reporting. And then that committee of 2 council members would then bring that resolution back to council for approval, for discussion and approval.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Council, do we have any questions, or this is a discussion? Do we have any questions or comments, or?
Well, I guess it was about a month and a half ago when we were studying the city charter. And in the city charter, it actually does state that we are to receive reports monthly from the city manager. Upon my investigation, I found out that during 2 administrations ago, I guess, that ended in 19, that there were reports generated by the city manager that went to the city council so they could study, they could know what was going on. Those stopped in, I guess, 2020, I'm assuming, the year. So when I found it in the charter, I've brought it up, I've read it here from where I sit to make sure that that is already in the charter. The wording is fine, it's perfect. But then also about a month or so ago, Mr. Nyhoff gave us all what I call a flow chart. There probably is a more professional name to it, but it actually shows the entities that answer to us. And when I say answer to us, that means that our knowledge of what's going on, the buck stops with us. And if you've ever run for an election and you have people asking you questions about certain things, you don't know, or you have to investigate, and you've got to ask these questions. So I would like to know, what is our lawyer working on? He doesn't have to give us the names. I just want to know what he's working on. I want to know what the municipal judge, how many fines are we getting? How much money are we collecting? How many people are going to jail? I don't need to know their name. And then the same thing with the EDC. What projects are they working on? Give us a summary. And as I stated to Nathan when he called me earlier, Business ABC is coming to town. They met with us. We like them. You know, we're showing them around. And then, okay, ABC doesn't come, or we're to the point where ABC is wanting to ask for things from you guys, so that we kind of are aware of what's going on in our city. And then also the fact that if we have any questions, then we can then address and ask for an executive meeting to ask them questions. And this is just to bring us into the loop so we know exactly what's going on with those people that we appoint, and that we will be responsible to the people of Mount Pleasant when they ask us questions.
All righty. Do you have anyone else that would like to speak on this item? This includes the public. This is a discussion. Do you have anyone on the line with the comments or anything? I knew it.
You know, one of these days you're going to tell me to sit down. I probably deserve it. Ms. Spruill and Ms. Redfern, congratulations on that vote. I would hope, because again, we fought this about 6-7 months ago, that when we started finding out with the PIDs and things like that, that you're going to ask on investment when it starts coming to EB5. We have a project going on right now that takes EB5, and if you care, I can go back and get my phone and tell you what EB5 is, or I could just do it offhand. But I hope you're going to ask where these investors are coming from, because an EB5 and that type of stuff is not a match for this city. They don't necessarily stay here, they spread out, and then they start buying up properties. That's a proven fact, and I can bring those facts and figures with you to you, either in this chamber or privately if you'd like. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, at this time, if we have nothing further, then we'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations for this, these 2 council members. I'm
Well,
sorry. Lee, did you have anything further?
No, the only thing I was going to add, Mayor, is that, the reason that I think a resolution is appropriate is just so the council's thought through the process of what they're looking for in terms of reports and contents, and then it needs to be specific for the various different type, respecting the confidentiality of like matters concerning that the city attorney may have. Similarly, EDC projects can be very sensitive, and respecting that as a process. And so that's why I think a resolution would be in order after developed for consideration by the council.
I certainly agree. There are certainly non-disclosure acts, and we're dealing with certain items. So I certainly agree with that. Council, if we have nothing further, we'll go ahead and open up.
I would like to nominate Jonathan Hageman and also Carl Hinton to be the two members to work with this resolution on reporting.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion made by Council Member Redfern, second by Council Member Sproul. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous. We'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda. Our next item is item 9, which is our city manager's report. Mr. Nyhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to comment on what you just passed and appointed two people on that. Part of it is, Councilmember Redfern said, the charter does state that there will be monthly reports. And I think the concept and the way you're approaching this is just very good, because sometimes if you think about one of my first meetings here, there was a staff report, a monthly report that had all the fire calls, all the crime stats, planning permits, and all that information. What we want to do is make sure that what we give you is what you want. We don't want to just create a bunch of busy work. Let's just say that. So I think it's a great idea to create a resolution that gives the city attorney's office, the EDC, myself, and then the courts pretty specific idea of what it is that you are interested in and would like to make sure you hear about. And so I just want to compliment you. I think that's a great idea to do that. So city manager's report, although the next one will be have much more information. Just want to say the budget work session is next Tuesday, so that's a special meeting on August 13th at 6 o'clock. And I do believe, do we have the charter on that as well? Pardon? Yeah, and we also have a vote from the ballot measure that council's worked on for the charter. And then I just wanted to say August 23, I've got to put a light in this. The Texas Rangers World Series trophy will be at the Civic Center from 12:30 to 2 p.m. and everybody is welcome. That's on a Friday. And the budget, just to say, it has been something that has been very time consuming, and to try to unwind everything and really find everything and how things have been done in the past when you don't have the people here that actually created and worked on the other budgets. It's been an act of love, right, Finance Director? It's been tough, and so for you as a community, and so we talk about the code enforcement officer, we talk about things like city engineers, and so I think it's important that all of you come so you can see the financial situation that the city is looking at, and it's prioritizing what you do. It's critically important because we do want more code enforcement officers. There's no doubt, but the same money that pays code enforcement pays police officers and firefighters, and so there's only one pool of money. So it's really important that we talk about that as a whole, and so when we make decisions, they're based on the priorities of the city, and we can move money here or we can move it there. It's a better priority there. So I just want to welcome everybody to come. We'll certainly our goal is to give you much more information so you can see the trends, you can see the numbers, and see where we got them from, because this is your budget actually. Council are your leaders, and you elected them to do so, but it's not going to be an easy decision. There are reductions in this budget, there are cuts in there, and I, your city manager, have only actually been doing it for a couple months, so understanding the high priorities that these folks will ultimately make in the budget is really important, so they need to hear from you. And then I just wanted to say, in regards to the library, I think you know, I want to make sure it's understood that you're always welcome. There's a policy, I talked to the library director, that if there's a concern about a particular book, there is a policy and a procedure to fill out online, and you talk about what it is about the book that concerns you, and then it goes to the library advisory board. So don't want anybody to leave thinking that there's a need for a new policy to look at. I think we just need to exercise those concerns and let you actually have you do that and go through that process so that the library board can talk about those books. And I think that's what council was talking about, certainly, and then talking to the library director. Please follow the process and have it discussed as the policy and process is already set in place. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to ask that when you go looking for reports and what you want in the new ones, go back and have every department provide you with 19 and 20, the reports. You're all new. This will give you a baseline of what was done and all the different things, and it'll give you something to compare it to, because everybody should have those. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, come on, you guys are getting paid by the hour. Mr. Nyhoff, thank you for those words. I am going to go back to the parents. I was advised they did try. Whether or not they were or not, I do not know. But I'm going to go back to those parents and say, hey, watch the meeting, follow the thing. Also, again, want to thank you for last time's financials. It's really eye-opening, so I'm looking forward to this next one. And then one last thing, and maybe you can handle this. This is why I want to speak at the manager's report. I get asked probably around literally 7-8 times a week, what are we doing about the old city manager and what's going on with law enforcement? Now, I did receive a call. I called, left a message. They haven't called me back. Look, I once said to a very wise man in a private room, no news is sometimes good news, but when things like this are festering, because everybody knows the Texas Rangers are involved, everybody knows there's an investigation on the old city manager, et cetera, when nothing's be said, guess what? Oh, it's just getting swept under the rug because it's a good old boy network. You know what? Somebody, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's Mr. Nyhoff, whether it's our mayor, whether it's any of you city council, need to say, hey, you know what? We checked on it. We can't make any comments because it's a current investigation. That's all that needs to be said. But the silence needs to stop. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, did you have anything further?
I have a quick comment. My name is Amy Hinton, and I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller. No, just kidding. I sit out here all the time. But the same thing, I do want to echo what Dave said. We get a lot of comments a lot. So 2 things you guys have said really, really struck me tonight. One is I agree with Mr. Nyhoff and Mr. Craig about following the process, but we have a lot of new council here, and for the last 4 years, the city and the taxpayers have felt very unheard. And I just want to reiterate that we all think this is an open door policy. Between the last meeting and tonight, look at all the people that are here. They feel like welcomed, and it's their right and their privilege, not only as Mount Pleasant citizens, but as Americans, to come in and state their views within the time limits. We'll take up the 2-minute thing later. I think it should be 3 or 4, but who am I? The second thing I wanted to say was the importance of Main Street. The last 4 years, we have really, really let that go. So I look at some of you that are the old council and then those of you that are new. If what you said tonight, it is important, and you see what's been done and you see how important downtown is, on someone's watch, we lost our national and our state accreditation of being a Main Street city. And I really hope that never, ever happens again. Councilman Redfern was on the original board. I was president of Main Street and put up that tower that's in the logo, and there's just a lot of pride here. If you guys really find that important, and listen, it was no fault of Clarabelle. She wasn't here when it was lost. She's done an excellent job. I cannot endorse her enough. But if that's true, if what you're saying is true, and you find that important and you recognize what's been done, then get her the training that she needs. Put that in the budget. Make sure that she feels supported, not only just with words here at council, but with training and backing up that board. Thank you.
All righty.
I just want to say the meeting on Tuesday is across the street at the library. They're having another meeting here. We will be across the street in the conference room over there.
Thank you for that information, Candace. We appreciate it. All right. We have closed the city manager's report, and at this time, we'll be getting ready to go into executive session pursuant to Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. The city council will recess into executive session to discuss the following: personnel matters and consultation with attorney, to discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. This is board appointments and municipal employees. At this time, the council will be going into executive session. We're back, and it is 8:47. The council will now reconvene in accordance with Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The city council will reconvene into regular session to consider action. Item 10, consider resolution 2024-11, appointment to Architects Council of Government Board. At this time, we'll open the floor for motions on this item.
I'll make a motion that we put Councilman Hageman, Councilperson Redfern, and Councilperson Sproul on the... No. Oh, sorry. And Mayor Craig on the Architects Council of Government Board.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right. All right, we have a motion made by Councilmember Hinton, second by Councilmember Sproul. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
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 Vote is unanimous at this time. We will now close our agenda items for today, and we are now adjourned. It's a pleasure. You all